All right, so today we're going to take a deep dive into industrial tech.
Okay.
We're talking specifically about the IMD104, a 10.4-inch panel PC.
Right.
You sent over some pretty detailed technical documents,
Right.
and we're going to break down what makes this thing unique.
Think of it like the off-road vehicle of computers,
Okay.
built to survive in places where a normal laptop just wouldn't last.
So first things first, durability.
Yeah.
Glancing at the specs, this thing's built like a tank.
Uh-huh.
Aluminum alloy construction, fanless cooling.
Yeah. And you see that IP65 rating.
What's IP65 mean?
It means that thing laughs in the face of dust and water.
All right.
The 6-foot means it's totally dust-tight.
Okay.
No particles getting in to mess with the electronics.
So like you could have this on a factory floor, dust flying everywhere.
Exactly.
And it'll just keep running.
And the 5-foot, that means it can handle water jets from any direction.
Seriously. Like you could hose this thing down.
You got it. Spills, splashes, even a washdown. It can take it.
That's wild.
Makes cleaning and maintenance so much easier.
Yeah, no kidding. So indestructible, check. But what about the display?
Right.
What are we looking at on this 10.4-inch screen?
It's a TFT LCD 124 by 768 resolution. Pretty standard. But the brightness and contrast ratio are what set it apart. 400 cm2 brightness.
Okay.
1000.1 contrast ratio.
What does that mean practically for somebody using it?
Imagine a bright factory. Even outside on a sunny day, you'll still get a clear, vibrant picture.
No more squinting.
Nope.
Okay, and touchscreen options. Got to have those in an industrial setting.
Absolutely. You've got capacitive and resistive.
Right.
Capacitive, super responsive, up to 10 points of touch, great for gestures.
Yeah, and resistive.
Your workhorse, durable, works even with gloves.
So choose the right tool for the job.
Yeah.
Speaking of tools, let's talk connections. This
Yeah.
thing has more ports than I've ever seen.
It's like a connectivity hub, specifically for industrial stuff.
Really?
Well, you've got your HDMI, your USB 2.0 and 3.0,
All right.
dual LAN ports for high-speed networking.
Wait, dual LAN ports, why two?
In industrial settings, you need redundancy.
Oh, right.
If one connection fails, the other one keeps your system running, no downtime.
Makes sense. What about those less common ports I saw listed?
You mean the VGA, the RS-232,
Yeah.
SIM card slot even?
Yeah, those. What are those all about?
Well, VGA, that's for older displays, the ones without HDMI.
Okay.
RS-232, that's a serial port. It's often used to connect machinery, equipment.
Like directly communicate with stuff on the factory floor.
Exactly. And it even has options for RS-485, RS-422, GPIO, for specific communication protocols.
Wow. And the SIM card slot.
That's for when you're in a remote location, no Wi-Fi. You just pop in a SIM card and you've got mobile data.
So they really thought of everything with this thing. All right, let's move on to the brains of the operation.
Sure.
The processor.
We're talking Intel i3 here. And not just any i3. You've got a choice from 6th generation all the way up to 10th generation.
So what's the difference?
You get significant improvements in processing power, graphics capabilities as you go up.
Look, what kind of graphics are we talking about?
Well, the 6th gen has Intel HD Graphic 520, which is, fine for most things.
Huh?
But when you jump to the 10th gen, you get the Intel UHD Graphic 620.
Big difference.
Oh, yeah. Much more powerful, especially if you do anything visually demanding.
So even though this is an industrial PC, it can still handle some, fancy graphics.
Absolutely. And to support all that processing power, you've got options for RAM and storage, too.
Okay, let's talk RAM and storage. What are the options there?
You start with 4 GB of RAM, 128 GB SSD.
Right?
But you can scale that up big time.
How high can you go?
Those 6th and 8th gen models, you can max out the RAM at 32 gigs. The 10th gen can go even higher, up to 64. And for storage, you can get larger SSDs up to 512 GB.
So it's kind of like build your own adventure.
Yeah, exactly. Choose the specs that fit your needs.
That's really cool. But what about operating systems? Is this thing stuck with one specific OS?
No, not at all.
Okay, good.
One of the things that makes it so versatile is that you have options.
Like what kind of options are we?
Now, you can choose between Windows, Ubuntu, or CentOS.
So whether you're a Windows person or a Linux fan, this thing's got you covered.
That's right. It's adaptable to, and especially in industrial settings, where you might have older systems. Maybe they need that open source flexibility that Ubuntu or CentOS offers.
It's like this thing speaks multiple computer languages.
Exactly.
That's pretty impressive. But before we get too deep into the software side of things, I want to circle back to the physical aspects for a sec.
Sure.
We talked about it being built like a tank, but what about the actual dimensions. How big is this thing?
Right, got to make sure it fits into your setup.
Exactly.
Overall, it's 288 millimeters wide, 231 millimeters tall, and 59.5 millimeters deep.
So not exactly pocket-sized,
No,
but it sounds like it's designed to be integrated into existing systems, right?
you got it. And the opening you need for installation is even smaller, just 273 by 216 millimeters. Plus, it's got that ultra-slim frame, really optimized for embedded installations.
So you could seamlessly integrate it into a control panel or something like that?
Exactly.
That's pretty smart. I gotta say, I'm still kind of stuck on that IP65 rating.
Yeah.
It's just wild to think you can practically pressure wash this thing.
It really shows you how rugged it is. And it's not just about water and dust.
Right.
This thing can handle extreme temperatures, vibrations, humidity, the whole 9 yards.
So we're talking like oil rig in the middle of a storm, and this thing just keeps on ticking.
Exactly. Built for anything.
That's impressive. So who is this thing actually built for?
Well, the documents mention manufacturing, automation, transportation, logistics, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But really, anywhere you need a computer that can take a beating and keep running, this is your machine.
It's like the Swiss Army knife of industrial PCs.
You could say that.
Can you give us some more specific examples, though? Like, how would this thing be used in those industries?
Sure, let's take manufacturing. Imagine a factory floor, machines are running, generating data. This panel PC could be your interface, showing you real-time data, letting you control the process.
So the operators can see what's going on, troubleshoot problems.
Exactly. Keep
Right.
things running smoothly.
Like the central nervous system of the factory.
That's a good way to put it.
What about transportation? How would it be used there?
Think about a fleet of delivery trucks.
Okay.
Each one's got this panel PC, tracking its location, managing deliveries, even helping the driver with navigation.
And because it's so rugged, it can handle the bumps and vibrations of the road.
Exactly. No downtime.
So increased efficiency, real-time tracking, improved safety, pretty big deal.
Absolutely.
What about logistics? I'm curious how it fits into that world.
Picture a busy warehouse. This panel PC is part of the system, managing inventory, tracking shipments, optimizing the whole workflow.
Workers could use it to scan packages, update records, all that.
Yep. And its durability means it can handle the rough and tumble of a warehouse environment.
It's like having a digital command center right there on the floor.
That's the idea.
I'm seeing the potential here. This tech could really change how these industries operate. But let's go back to the processing power for a sec.
Okay.
We know there are different Intel i3 options, but what does it actually mean in practice?
Going from a 6th gen to a 10th gen i3, that's a huge jump.
Like how huge?
It's going to feel a lot faster,
Oh, yeah.
especially if you're running demanding programs, dealing with big data sets, things like that.
So it's not just about the numbers, it's about the actual user experience.
Exactly. Everything feels smoother, more responsive.
Okay. And we can't forget about those integrated graphics.
Right.
We talked about the Intel HD Graphic 520 and the UHD Graphic 620. Can you remind me what that means for someone using this thing?
Think of the UHD 620 as like a supercharged graphics card built right in. It can handle more complex visuals, render things faster.
So if you're working with 3D models, simulations, even just looking at detailed dashboards.
Yeah, you're going to notice the difference. It really opens up what you can do with this panel PC.
That's cool. Now, I'm curious about customization, beyond just the processor and RAM and storage.
Sure.
What other ways can you tailor this thing to your needs?
Well, one thing that stands out is the port selection.
Right, we talked about those.
It's like they thought of every way you might need to connect this thing.
Remind me of some of the more unique ones.
You've got VGA for older displays, which can be a lifesaver in industrial settings. And then you've got RS-232, that serial port for industrial communication.
Talking directly to machinery, sensors, all that.
Yep. And it even has options for RS-485, RS-422, GPIO, those specialized protocols.
So it's not just about connecting to a monitor, it's about integrating into a whole system?
Exactly. And don't forget that SIM card slot.
Right.
You can take this thing anywhere, even if there's no Wi-Fi.
Always connected.
Exactly.
That's really impressive. Okay, before we wrap up, I want to make sure we touch on the operating system options again.
Sure.
That's a big deal, not being limited to just one OS.
Definitely. It's all about flexibility.
So just to refresh everyone's memory, what are the choices again?
You can choose between Windows, Ubuntu, or CentOS.
So you got your familiar Windows environment, the power of Ubuntu, or the stability of CentOS. Something for everyone.
Exactly. Whatever fits your needs. Yeah, it really shows you they were thinking ahead with this thing. They knew it had to be adaptable, especially in these industrial settings where you've got so many different needs.
It's like they said, hey, let's not box people in. Let them choose what works best for them.
Exactly. And it brings up a bigger point.
Okay.
We've been talking specs, but I think the real story here is what this technology represents.
What do you mean?
This panel PC can survive in places where a normal computer wouldn't last a day.
Yeah.
Dust, water, heat, cold, it doesn't matter. That opens up a whole world of possibilities.
We're taking computing power out of the office, putting it right where the action is.
Exactly. And it's not just about factories and warehouses.
Oh,
This kind of rugged tech is starting to pop up in other fields too.
like what?
Healthcare, for one.
Yeah.
Imagine a mobile medical unit, in a remote area, maybe a disaster zone. They need equipment that can handle anything.
And this panel PC could do that.
Absolutely. Doctors could access records, run diagnostics, even consult with specialists remotely,
Wow.
and they wouldn't have to worry about the elements damaging their equipment. Bringing life-saving technology to the places that need it most.
That's powerful stuff. What else? What other fields?
Scientific research. Think about scientists working in extreme environments, deserts, rainforests, you name it.
Battling the elements while they're trying to collect data?
Exactly. They need a computer that can keep up.
A computer that won't die on them in the middle of the jumble.
Exactly.
Right.
And it's not just about the environment.
Right.
It's about reliability. Think about emergency responders. Firefighters, paramedics, they need tech they can count on in any situation.
So this panel PC could provide communication, navigation, data analysis, all that.
Yep, a mobile command center that can go anywhere.
It's really amazing when you think about it. Technology that's not just smart, but tough.
Absolutely. And I think we're just scratching the surface here. As technology evolves, the need for rugged devices is only going to grow.
It's like survival of the fittest, but for computers.
I like that.
So the IMD104, it's more than just a panel PC.
It is.
It's a sign of things to come, a future where our technology can keep up with us no matter where we go.
And for our listeners out there, the question is, where could a machine like this transform the way you work?
What could you accomplish if you knew your tech could handle anything?
That's something to think about.
It is. Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of rugged computing. Until next
Right.
time.